Hello and welcome. This is the Insurance Pro Like Podcast. This is episode 412. I am Brandon Roberts.
And I am Brantley Whitley.
And you are listening to the internet's favorite podcast about life insurance.
That's right. And we're going to actually talk about life insurance today.
That's what we came to do. You think we're coming to do that each week, but not always.
Sometimes. We got to appease people every now and then.
That's right. We could talk about taxes.
Yeah, let's not.
We could talk about the IRS. We could talk about well, there's lots of things. Probably shouldn't say. It's way too politically charged at this point. Never mind. Right. Never mind.
Plus, I haven't paid my taxes yet, so there's that.
February 18th. Listen to me giving away the day that this was actually recorded. Oops. February.
Don't give away our secrets.
Sometime in mid-February. Pay taxes? Nah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, what's on the agenda today?
Whole life insurance.
Oh, okay. Good.
It's on the agenda.
All right.
We come with some disappointing news.
Uh-oh.
Wealth building. No, I'm not going to call it that because that's not correct. Becoming wealthy is hard.
Well, it's going to be the shortest episode ever.
There you go. Done.
We gave away the punchline early on.
There we go. It's all done. No, it is though. Like it's in fact,
this actually just stems from a general conversation we were having.
Right.
Sort of frustration at looking at the, I guess you could call them conflicting messages.
Yeah.
And realizing that both sides of the argument are right.
Yep.
But they can't see that they're both right because everybody's got a die on their little hill.
Yeah.
That they're protecting for some odd reason.
Well, you know what I think the big issue is? And let me, here, you're right. I tell the jokes backwards, don't I? So we should probably start with the big question, which is why don't more people recommend whole life insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how it was supposed to start. But I'm going to sort of float the theory here today that probably the biggest problem is the fact that people will not accept that products are agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Like ultimately at the end of the day, stocks, bonds, real estate, life insurance, CDs, whatever. It doesn't matter. They don't have any kind of virtue behind them.
So to be more specific, not to nitpick, product categories.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
We can say it that way.
That's not to say that one whole life product couldn't be better than another whole life product.
Yep.
Or one type of investment couldn't be better for you than another. But in terms of the broad categories, yes. They
exist as a means and as a conduit to go from where you are to where you want to be. That's it. They don't really have anything else about them. But there's a big fight that goes on that tries to suggest that there is an absolutely correct, absolutely superior, and absolutely best way to do it.
Yes.
And exactly. I don't believe any of that.
Right.
I just don't. I do believe very fundamentally.
Because you're right and and everyone else is wrong.
That's I try to convince my wife of this, but she won't buy in. So
I knew you were going to go there.
So I think fundamentally that becoming wealthy is so difficult. Like a huge percentage of Americans, and I'm talking like 99 point some high digit, close to 9%, are never going to get there.
Right.
And
I agree.
The issue isn't just money. That's the false flag in all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that so many financial gurus, investment companies, and other people who have something to sell you, whether literally or figuratively, have used to distract you from the real problem.
Mm.
Because wealth is equal parts, I got money, and also I got freedom of time.
Right.
And I think it's hard to shift out of certain mentalities and wrap your arms around both of those concepts. So I think that fundamentally there are people who become wealthy because they view both money and time in different ways than people who aren't wealthy do.
Is this your debut of your self-help channel?
Yeah, I'm saying this thinking, But
First, let me tell you why gurus are bad. Now listen to the guru.
No. Nope, not a guru. But it really like there is a value to money. There is a value to time. And when you figure out that they don't mean what you kind of think they mean on the surface, it starts to change the way you look at other tools when it comes to wealth accumulation. This is why I'm so fundamentally on board with using whole life insurance or index universal life insurance. We kind of use those terms interchangeably around here as tools to build retirement or build a retirement position because they're focused on generating income.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about any of the account balance stuff. I'm not personally a huge advocate of infinite banking. Look, if that's what you want to do and you want to come to us to set you up with a policy, I'll set you up with the best cash accumulating product you can get. And you can go infinite bank to your heart's content. You can even consult me on some things and that's all fine. But I think you're kind of distracted, eyes off the ball in that situation.
Yeah.
Now,
I would say those are marketing concepts and there's no magic to them.
No, there's not. And we have people who have bought life insurance policies who have basically done infinite banking or something in that range, and they've been wildly successful with that approach.
Yeah.
Good for them.
But in truth, they could have been wildly successful doing other things as well. So.
They could have. They could have. And let me tell you, share a little dirty empirical secret here. None of them were not already doing pretty well before they started doing it.
Absolutely. 100%. You got to fund the bank somehow or another.
You just broke the Insurance Pro Blog rule and used the term 100%. We have entered the zillennial realm.
Do I have to pay a fine?
And you're the older one too. I'm disappointed. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but I have lots of
yeah, that's right too. That's right too. You got way more personal experience with that than I do.
I can bring out all the slang if you want me to. It changes week to week, but no, but there's no magic behind any of these concepts and the through line, if you will, between all these people we've worked with who have been successful, is one, they have a well above average discretionary income.
Yep.
That means after expenses are paid, they have a lot of money left over.
Yep.
We don't need to use finance terms all the time. And two, they were already doing something with that money. There was a discipline that was already involved in that, in their life.
Mm-hmm. That is true. They're not types who came in and said, look, I want to put X into this and I'm going to need X plus a little bit more to go make some investment things. So how quickly can I get into that? That's not a good place to start.
Right.
They already had things going on.
So going back to the whole idea that, there's not one particular product category that's better or worse than any of the others.
Yep.
Where are you going with that? I know where you're going with that, but I want you to explain where you're going with that.
Yeah. So accumulating money for the sake of being able to retire or whatever the goal is, I think everybody's going to have to accumulate for the sake of retirement. I think saving for other goals is kind of dependent on certain circumstances. Not everybody necessarily goes down that road, but the approach, the decision between the decision about what you go about putting the money in doesn't matter all that much. But we get into these weird camps where we advocate quite violently that there's a right answer. And when it comes to retirement planning, we've been told for years that stocks are the only way to do it.
Right.
Because stocks are the only things that have a rate of return that is attractive enough to do it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different flavors of this.
But here's
story.
A dirty little secret. The investment industry created the retirement planning industry. So
yeah, it did.
Lo and behold. I know it's shocking, but guess what they would recommend you do?
Buy stocks.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. We're just using that as an example. We're not saying buying stocks is bad or good. It's just
we're not. What we're trying to convince you of is the fact that it is not the panacea.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Is
nor is life insurance.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. The problem is when we try to convince people that by virtue of doing this one thing, you've done it all.
Right.
And that's not correct. And you know, we have an example. Let's use the example.
Okay.
So, because first I'll talk about the tinfoil hat theory, which is I believe that the advocacy for stocks largely comes from the admission that most people aren't going to make it anyway.
Mm.
So we're using stocks because we think that's the highest expected rate of return of all the things. So even though stocks are probably going to fail, perhaps they fail a little less badly than all the other options.
Right.
If and only if
you use a high enough expected rate of return, you get to tell people you don't have to save near as much as you thought you had to save.
Yeah. And I say all of that if and only if the stock's rate of return is high enough-ish to accomplish maybe what we kind of thought was going to happen.
Right.
So, case in point, let's say you make $100,000 a year and you're saving 15% of your income. That's $15,000 a year.
Right.
That was easy math. That's why I used $100,000 as the income.
I already knew. You didn't have to explain.
So,
we're doing live math. You gotta keep it simple.
So you save for 20 years.
Yep.
Let's say net after everything rate of return in your stock portfolio is 7%.
Let's just call it your 401k because that's
401k.
Where most people would be saving this hypothetical $15,000.
Right. If that happens, 7% per year net, $650-ish thousand, what you're going to have as an accumulated balance
After 20 years. Yep.
Which, okay, that's fine. $650,000. That's something. But if we're gonna use like the rule of thumb of you should have like 10 times your salary, that 650 is going to fall way short of that.
Yep.
So what's the other option? Well, some people would tell you got to look for a greater rate of return. Yeah. Those people are idiots. Don't listen to them. Other people tell you got to save more. That's good luck with that. This is the problem.
Yep.
Like people are going to fall short. Now, if we assume,
I would suggest. I want to pause here for a second. Mm-hmm. I would suggest because this would be the example we used. We're being very tongue in cheek about it. This is a very common example.
Yes.
Online.
Yes.
Like to 15%. The chances, I mean, you and I, we talk to a lot of people. We see the under the kimono of personal finances for lots and lots of people. The chances that there are lots of people out there with $100,000 incomes that are saving 15% of that or $15,000 a year, not 99% of them.
So according to Y charts, 3.8% is the savings rate, personal savings rate in the United States for 2000, basically the end of 2024.
Yep.
3.8. Long-term average, I will have to confess that I don't know exactly what they define as long-term average, 8.43.
Yep.
So we're dancing in the territory of twice the actual numbers.
Yep. But we just wanted to show what the numbers are, but I just wanted to point out that that's not even a likely amount of money that someone would be able to save who has $100,000 in income in 2025.
Correct. So if we take that 650, we do the 4% withdrawal rate at retirement, that's $26,000 a year.
Yep. I know you were making $100,000 yesterday, but today you're retired. So guess what? You get to make $26,000 a year.
So even if you're doing a lot of the right things, like $100,000 minus 15 is $85,000. So if you're not spending 86, you're doing a good thing. So even if you're in that camp, $26,000 is still a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we claim that a lower rate of return is like terrible. That's not unmanageable. Let's talk about like whole life insurance expectations. I'm going to use 4.5% as the expected rate of return. Same $15,000, same 20-year period, $491,000, which you would accumulate.
Yep.
Most
so a
people
lot
would
less
say,
than 650.
Yep. Most people would say this is why it sucks, right? We can hear the twang in Dave Ramsey when we say that, right? But as we have shown a time or 15 here on the insuranceproblog.com, the Insurance Pro Blog podcast and such, the withdrawal rate on whole life insurance is significantly higher than would be that in a stock portfolio. So 5.5% withdrawal rate, $27,000 per year. I'm $1,000 more. Let's not even worry about that. They're virtually the same.
Right.
Virtually the same income comes from the whole life policy as the stock portfolio when we save $15,000 a year and we assume a 7% net of everything rate of return on the stock portfolio versus 4.5%, which is a little on the conservative side for whole life insurance.
Right.
So they come out being the exact same thing. But the whole life insurance policy does not have volatility like the stock market portfolio would.
Right.
So, if year 19 of our hypothetical scenario is 2008, I got some really bad news on that $650,000 assumption.
It's not going to be 650,000.
Nope, not.
Yeah.
So there's volatility to that. And even if the volatility ends up being some number bigger than 650, sometimes just the movement in those numbers can be enough to make people be their own undoing.
Yeah.
We've all seen people sell because the market wobbled. They didn't need to sell, but they did. And they paid dearly for it.
Yep.
So whole life insurance removes all that because it doesn't go up and down significantly. It goes up a little bit each and every single year.
Yep.
Index universal life insurance is kind of the same.
Yep.
So here it is. This is why we just have a very even keel approach to this.
Mm-hmm.
And when people come to us, we like whole life insurance. We understand whole life insurance. We advocate for it. When they come to us and they kind of want to argue, well, what about stocks? They do better. They're kind of underwhelmed by our response, which is if you want to do stocks.
Yeah. But better is subjective. It depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like if you're just looking at top line numbers, no question.
Yep.
If we pick a particular point in time, one would expect that equities would outperform whole life insurance.
Yep.
You could make the same comparison between real estate and collecting Ferraris. And I mean, you could pick any two categories, my point, and go, well, this one, historically performs better than this one. It's like, okay. Tell me how the Ferrari is going to provide you income when you retire. I'm waiting.
I'm going to rent it.
On Toro? You're going to put it on Toro?
Going to bring it downtown and charge to drive people around the block.
Yeah, there's no risk involved in that, right?
No.
I'm being facetious, but I'm just trying to get people to focus on what is the goal? Like, what is the end goal here?
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely got to be income when it comes to retirement savings.
It does.
There's no other reason to have it.
I agree. I've met a lot of people who have accumulated some sum of money. Sometimes it's impressive, sometimes it's not. And most of the time, they don't really have any clear identification on why they spent the time trying to accumulate it.
Right.
They don't really know what they're doing with it.
Yep.
And we again, wealth is equal parts money and time. And the older you get, the less time you theoretically have. And a lot of people reach retirement and they kind of start to adopt a philosophy on the time side that's similar to just generally wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
Because they start to really understand that life is just as much about being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it as it is having money lying around. And they're kind of forced into a world where they start to act a little bit more like generally wealthy people do. Not all of them, but a number of them. And those that have something in place that guarantees them the money side, like they don't have to worry about the fluctuation of the market. They've got a certain amount of income that's just generated. It solves the puzzle because nobody lives their life from like age 20 to age 65 in a world where I make X amount of dollars a month. So that means that I can live an X dollars, well, an X minus some number is usually best, dollars a month life. Like that's a hard transition to get out of 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
And just decide I've got all this money. I'm just going to carefully withdraw it to support my life.
Yep.
staring into the black abyss and not knowing how long it's going to last.
We were talking about some statistical data that you came across as it relates to people who are in retirement age, not necessarily that they're retired, but they're in the traditional age range of being retirees. And I'm setting you up here, but what is it that makes them different as opposed to previous generations of retirees?
A lot of them still have a mortgage.
Yeah.
40%. And the average mortgage balance among them is over $100,000.
Right. And we were talking about, because we have experience with people in our lives who were of the greatest generation who are no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't know what the time frame is of the people that were born in that. I would say people who were born around the Depression, into World War II, I suppose. They generally retired with no mortgage.
Yeah.
And they generally retired with no mortgage for decades before they retired.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mortgages historically were paid rather quickly. Paid off, so to speak.
Yeah. That was the big priority most of the time.
Yeah.
And
which created much more discretionary income for them at an earlier age.
And there was something else fundamentally that changed quite a bit that's definitely caused boomers to carry mortgages into retirement. The greatest generation people, they didn't move that often at all.
Right.
So you bought a house, you paid a mortgage, paid off the mortgage. That was it.
Yep.
The boomer generation largely started the trend of we move every 5 or so years.
We make more money, we buy more house. We make more money, we buy more house.
Yep. So that started that trend.
Yep. Which has become the norm now for every generation.
And this is why mortgage rates for a long time were pegged to like treasuries inside the 5 to 10 year range.
Yep.
Because most people didn't stay in a house any longer than that. So they were going to be getting a new mortgage after that time frame anyway.
Yep.
So the banking industry has not pegged mortgages to 30-year treasuries, for example, because that doesn't make any sense. Most people don't keep them that long.
Right. 10 years is kind of where the peg is nowadays.
Yep. So that changes a lot of the financial math here.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to how you prepare to enter into retirement and actually be able to do it. I think there's a big affordability issue that is facing a lot of baby boomers at this point when it comes to retirement.
100%.
I know that there's a group of people who are using that term that you just did quite a bit, who are complaining that they can't get jobs because boomers won't leave.
To which we say, I don't know that it's that they won't leave, it's that they can't.
You're right.
I mean, that's, again, we have some experience. We see the numbers.
Mm-hmm. We do.
There are many people who have very nice incomes that cannot afford to retire.
Right.
I'm not saying they ever say that, but the math speaks for itself.
Yeah. And so, if that's the situation, then they're going to keep working. And I think that there's been a lot of financial advice that has been dispensed for the past couple of decades that has steered a lot of people in the direction of being where they are.
Well, one of my things that we were talking about before the podcast is I believe, I'm going to make a bold statement, that the financial planning industry or retirement planning industry, I use those terms interchangeably, was built around the model of the greatest generation, because that's when financial planning, quote unquote, became a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not a thing that existed in the 60s and 70s. This was a creation of the 80s, 90s into the 2000s.
Yep.
So when this was created is when the greatest generation was beginning to retire, look toward retirement. So all of the advice about what to do and how to get there was based around the paradigm that fit the people who the advice was for at the time. But the paradigm's completely different now.
While also kind of picking the best parts of what seemed like success among those people and
saying,
pretending like that was just going to carry forward for decades.
Yeah, this is gospel. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, and this goes back to my early comment about both sides of this argument, because the one side of the argument, the older generation seems to be, well, younger people just don't understand about sacrifice and what you got to do to save money to make sure you're going to have enough money and blah, 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 blah. And the younger people are going, well, it's because all you older people sucked up all the resources, and they're both standing on opposing hills yelling at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I are standing there going, you're both right. I mean, because the truth of the matter is, it is true what the older generations say about, saving and sacrificing, and those things are true, and those things will always be true because those are like eternal truths. However, what the younger generations are saying about things being different is very, very true. And the cost of housing, the cost of caring for said housing, the cost of maintenance, the cost of insurance, all of those things are a much higher percentage of the average income than they were in the mid 80s.
Yep. Just
use that as an example.
Yep.
Those are realities. Because you and I have never been one. We've always erred on the side of, hey, it's your personal responsibility to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's our sort of, we've always believed that. But even in the last few years, you and I have started to look at things in our own lives and compare notes about certain expenses and things like that, because we're very aware of those things and we pay attention to them and go like, how much are you paying for car insurance now? How much are you, utilities, heating oil? All those sorts of everyday things. We just notice like, I don't think this is anecdotal experience. I think this is really happening to lots of people. And the reality is, going back to our example of someone who made $100,000 a year, the vast majority of people make $100,000 a year can't afford to save $15,000 a year.
No.
And there's lots of arguments about, well, you don't have to live here, you can live there. And this, look, I don't live in a super expensive area. And I guess nationally speaking, you don't either. I mean, it's not out of control.
It's cheaper here than San Francisco.
Yeah. Or
Manhattan.
any of the major cities for
Boston.
that matter.
Yep.
And yet, things are wildly more expensive than they were 10 years ago.
Well, I think a lot of the affordability of living in certain areas is always making a certain comparison where one doesn't really exist. Like to just talk about house pricing.
Yeah.
What it costs per square foot, as an example, to buy a house here versus where you live.
Yeah.
It's different. But there are other expenses associated with living here or where you are that are different between the two. So,
and we found that when talking to people, like comparing states that have income tax versus states that don't, okay, yeah, Texas doesn't have an income tax. They have crazy high property taxes.
Yep.
So you end up, when you do these comparisons, there ends up being a lot of wash.
Right.
And those details kind of obfuscate things a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So philosophically, the whole point is that, listen, the large focus on stocks is done in the context of if all you do is take some percentage of your income and put it in stocks, you'll become wildly wealthy. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen for a few different reasons.
Yeah, it doesn't prove out. And let's just say, look, let's go back to the $100,000 a year example where they say $15,000 a year for 20 years and they got 7% net rate of return, and so they got $650,000. Let's just say, okay, that works. $650,000 is not enough money to retire if you had $100,000 a year income.
No, it's not.
I mean, unless you can live on $26,000. Let's say they double that because they get the same amount in Social Security.
Yep.
I'm just for giggles.
Yeah.
That's $52,000 a year before taxes.
Yep.
If I'm making $100,000 a year yesterday, do I want to retire today on $52,000?
It's
and then let's take it one step further. Can I? Because that's the real question.
Right. Now, of course, we might get into the question, which is, well, all right, 10 times $100,000 would be $1 million. So what kind of rate of return is necessary to get there? It's almost 10.5%.
If you use the same time frame.
$15,000. Yeah. So, again,
and if you understand that's not realistic, now you know why baby boomers are still working.
Right. You're not going to get there. So it takes a big philosophical shift.
Yeah.
You've got to look at things like time being equally important. And what I mean by that is there has to be some extreme intention behind the things that you do and how they're going to impact how your finances and your time are going to be committed as things go on. That's extremely difficult to do.
Yeah.
When you're 25 years old.
Yep.
35 years old. It's just not that likely. So either you do approach life with that sort of philosophy from the get-go, or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very unlikely that if you don't, you're going to learn to adopt that in a way that's quick enough to really shift things in the direction where you're not carrying a mortgage when you're getting ready to retire.
Right.
None of what we've said so far is to wag a finger at boomers and make them feel ashamed of themselves. We're just saying that's the way it is.
Right. We're not shagging our finger. We're not wagging our finger at any group.
No.
We're just looking at the realities of it. And look, I feel very strongly about this. If you feel like you're going to fall short, as many people are, it's even more important that you manage your risk.
Yeah.
Volatility is not your friend.
Nope. No. If your reality is I'm going to save $15,000 a year, so maybe I get $650. Maybe it's $850. Maybe it's $500. That's a problematic range.
Yeah.
As we've shown time and again, with something like whole life insurance, we can be pretty accurate. Every policy we've put in force, even where dividend scales have declined, the amount that we're off in terms of account balance, it's not enough to move the needle in a life-changing way.
Right.
So where we might have projected $50,000 of income, now it's like 48.
Yep.
If these people were in a situation where we really felt like 48 was going to be a deal breaker to them and they were going to go broke versus 50, I mean, we would have told them, listen, the only way we're going to sell life insurance to you is if you can tell us that you're aware of this problem and you're going to try and fix it at some point in the near future.
Right.
Not just, yay, we're going to move forward and you're going to be fine. So these are the sorts of things
you've got to be realistic
about
your own situation and the real dollars, not just percentages. Like you gave the example of, what if it's a range?
Yeah.
So, you could say, well, maybe I get 650, but maybe I end up with 20% more, which would be 800-ish. I'm doing quick math in my head. 800-ish $1,000. Well, that's a whole lot different than someone who has 4 million actually ended up with 5.
Yep.
Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, it's a lot more impactful when you're in the 650 range than it is in the $4 to $5 million range.
For all the same reasons that it seems like something magical has happened when you've gone from like $50,000 a year in income to $100,000 a year of income. But
Yeah.
if you go from $500,000 a year of income to $550,000 a year of income, it's
Right. Exactly. If someone thinks they're going to get 5, but they only have 4 million, I mean, will they be able to spend less? Yes. I mean, let me rephrase that. Will they have to spend less? Yes, they will. If they want their money to last, they absolutely will have to spend less. Will it have some meaningful impact on their day-to-day life? No, not really.
Right.
Because the only things they'll be giving up will be completely discretionary.
Correct. So, again, on the initial question, I don't know if people advocate for whole life insurance. It's because of this trap.
Yeah.
Because they think they're somehow going to dig themselves out by virtue of stocks.
Right.
We don't think it's going to happen.
Or some higher return. It could be rental properties. That's another big one. Yeah.
But we don't think it's going to happen. And we think for the limited situations where it does take place, they're not replicatable models.
Right.
Like, we've always been very hesitant to take certain time periods of the stock market and say, look, here's the evidence. If you just did this, you'd be fine. Because that may be an overstatement of what can really take place over a longer period.
The luxury of hindsight in that,
right,
in that scenario.
Nor do I know that you're buying on the right day of the month.
Right.
Or that you're going to stay the course.
Yep.
You're going to be able to stomach the ups and downs. All of that matters.
Yeah.
And so I really don't think that life insurance or stocks, it's going to matter all that much once it all shakes out.
Yeah.
So if you like stocks, buy stocks. If you like the lack of volatility and safety of life insurance, buy life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Both work.
Yep.
I think a combination of the two so that you can benefit from both of them at their best points is probably the right decision.
Right. And whatever you do, stick to it.
Yeah.
Because remember, time is the biggest part of the equation here, and the one thing you can't control. And every day you spend jumping from one thing to the next, or biting your fingernails about what you should do, is time you're wasting.
I don't know the exact statistic, so I'm going to speak very, very vaguely in terms of all this, but like Warren Buffett has made more money in the past 20 years of his life than he made during the first 70.
Yeah.
By like a factor of 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's huge. Yep.
Because sticking to it and letting compounding do its thing does work.
Mm-hmm. And the biggest compounding takes place at the end, not the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
Magical that way. The snowball picks up more snow toward the bottom of the hill.
Mm. Cake has calories and your money's going to grow the fastest right before you die.
There you go.
It's just the way life is.
Yep. All right.
I think that's all that we can reasonably expect out of today.
Me too.
So with that, I am Brandon Roberts.
And I'm Brantley Whitley.
And we will see you next week.